Hi, this is Joanne May, and today I'm going to show you a gold medal leaf painting of a zebra on an acrylic canvas. The supplies I used are Atelier carbon black acrylic paint, Speedball adhesive size and sealer, a number 4 round brush, a Derwent 6B pencil, but any soft lead pencil will do. A blue ballpoint pen or any other color is fine, although not black. And then a gold leaf, a silver leaf, and a rose gold metal leaf. So I started with this Pixabay photograph and sized it down to fit my canvas, which is 8 by 8. And I measured out this, this line that you see I put on the front and the back side to shorten the width of the painting. And now I'm taking a very soft lead pencil, this Derwent pencil, and what I'm going to be doing now is scrubbing the back side of the painting. So you'll see me lifting it up to see where the border of the paint of the photograph is. I just printed this out on my printer in a high contrast black and white photo. And I'm just using the side of the pencil, looking to see where that edge of the painting will be, making the square first, and then I'm going to use that soft lead to just fill the back side, because this will be how I will transfer the design over to my canvas. So you see me going diagonally, then I'm going to go across a few more times, take a few more passes, because what I will do then is flip this so that the pencil lead is touching the canvas, and I'll use my blue ballpoint pen to trace over the designs, all the stripes and the shape of the zebra. Okay, so with that done, now I'm lining up the area that I want to outline so that it's approximately the same distance from the border of the canvas. It was about 1.5 inches in, which gives it a nice look in the finished product. And I'm taking this ballpoint pen, and the reason for the color, blue or red or another color of a pen, is so that you can see where your lines have traced over this picture that you printed out. I'm checking to be sure that it is transferring here, especially the first few passes of these lines. And once I get into a rhythm of it, it goes fairly quickly, even with all of these lines from the zebra. This transfer process is so easy to do. Some people like to use paper made especially for transferring. It tends to be a little bit less easy to get rid of the lines if you are going to need to do that. In this particular case, I didn't need to, but if I were using watercolor, and this works equally well with watercolor, I would probably see some of the lines showing through. And if I do this pencil process, I can easily erase the lines, but the transfer paper tends to leave a little bit of an oily residue, and it's harder to erase. So there, I tediously went through all of the lines and all the design, and now you see me taking a kneaded eraser and just taking away some of the pencil marks that somehow got onto my hand and I touched the border area there, so I'm just taking that, cleaning it up a little bit in between as well, because the white part of the canvas will show through. All I will be painting will be just the black lines. So here I am now with my paintbrush ready to begin the painting process. I just squeezed some of the paint out of the tube onto a white paper plate, and I'm using a fairly small brush. This number 4 round is rather small because of the spaces that I'll have to cover to fill in for the design. This is a really easy process, by the way, for any new painters, either, as I mentioned before, with watercolor or with acrylic paints, because the black part doesn't need to be enhanced in any sort of way. I did a watercolor of this same zebra, and I did try to include a whole variety of black shadings by mixing colors together. But with the acrylic black, it's a sharper, more brilliant, darker color than what the watercolor tends to be generally, and it looked, I thought, fine. I wasn't thinking that I needed to mix any colors or add shadings, especially because the gold leaf is the primary focus on the face. So I jumped ahead now because that was all the same process to put the stripes in. I added some eyelashes to the eyes, and it is ready now to apply the gold metal leaf. And I call it metal leaf because it is not gold. It's made from mica, which is a natural rock substance, and created for this purpose into these flat sheets. What I'm doing right now is putting the sizing on. Sizing is just a glue. The glue that I had, the sizing was rather old, and I hadn't used it for a while. And when I first opened the bottle, I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to use this anymore. I took all of the thick, dried parts that were around the top of the bottle and got rid of those, and then I started stirring, and it kind of seemed like it was going to work okay. I added water because this is a water-soluble substance, and when I got just the right amount of water, it was a milky thickness, and sure enough, it worked just fine. So I painted that sizing onto some of the white spots, and because I'm going to be using 3 different colors of gold metal leaf, I was trying to decide as I went through this where I wanted which colors. And I thought, you know, it probably won't matter very much. I'm going to just start in with this rose gold. I took a piece of wax paper and pressed it onto a sheet of this rose gold metal leaf, and it sticks with static electricity just by running my hand across the top of the waxed paper. And that way I can lift it straight up and transfer it over to the sticky part. One thing to remember, this takes quite a long time to do multiple passes because it takes 30 minutes to dry until it's a tacky stage before you're ready to put the metal leaf on and then clean off the excess. So you saw me do that. This is a sped up version, but you'll see it a few more times. What I'm doing now, though, is it didn't stick fully inside of the area that I wanted to have the metal leaf, and I know from having done this before that you can, and I did just now, take the sizing and paint over the blank white spots. So here I am with my transfer rose gold on the wax paper, but this time I have the wax paper underneath, and I'm just picking up little bits where I wanted to touch up the edges where it was white. So I am covering those now after having waited another 30 minutes. I discovered that because it's such a dry climate time of year here where I live, that 20 minutes was sufficient, and actually did a better job with the 20-minute wait time instead of 30 minutes. I take just a tissue in my hand and rub gently over the top of the areas that I just stuck down, and now I'm taking a soft paintbrush. This is a watercolor brush with some soft bristles, and I'm just removing the excess. It's a little delicate at this point, so you don't want to rub very hard. Otherwise you might take off some of the glued down parts. And trying to clean up the edges. And a long time ago I was working on a project like this, and I thought I just have to get a sharper edge than what I'm getting with this soft watercolor brush. So you'll see in just a moment what I did was I picked up a calligraphy pen that had a nib that was a really old nib I hadn't thrown away, and I was thinking I might find a use for it, and sure enough I did. What I did was I scraped a little bit along the edge of the line where the gold leaf was kind of hanging over a little bit with my pointed pen. So you'll see that in a minute. Here I'm adding sizing now to some other places. So what I decided to do was just think, okay, I'm going to start with rose gold, and then I'll leave two, I have three colors, so I'll leave two of those white stripes blank, and then I'll put another rose gold and then two more white stripes blank. So that's how I started thinking about it. But then I thought, I don't really necessarily want to go all the way down the front of this zebra's face with the same color in the same stripe. So you'll see in the finished product how I decided to actually even leave some of the white spaces as white stripes. And sometimes I went part way down the face, and another stripe I did with a longer piece. I apologize for my head being in the way with a little bit of this, but here's the pen, the pointed pen that I was talking about. This is an oblique pen. You can use any type of sharp object. You could use even a sharp utility knife. And so that last sizing that I put on was for the silver, so the second color now, and you see me just pressing it with the tissue. And now lifting off the excess. You can do this right away. You don't have to have any wait time after you press it on, and just rub over it with the tissue. I'm saving the big pieces. These gold metal leaf sheets come to, if you're purchasing them in a package like you see here, I think I have about 50 sheets in each of these packages. They come to about 35 to 40 cents per sheet, so I don't worry too much about losing a little flake of gold here or there. However, if you save the little flakes, you can rub those into a project at some point in the future. So I have little tubs that I try to save, but if some of it gets away, I don't worry too much about it. It's important not to have a fan going anywhere nearby when you're working with this, because it's so fine and so easy to get away. It's a little tricky to manage, even as you see me laying these pieces on. Sometimes I had to turn it or reposition it in my fingertips, or help. It always helps with the brush, because it's so prone to to sticking to things through static electricity. You can actually rub the tip of this paintbrush, dry paintbrush, on your clothing, or some people do it in their hair because there's more static electricity you can get there, and then touch it to the gold metal leaf, and sure enough, it'll pick right up into the brush if that's what you're trying to do. So that was some silver. You see the rose gold and the silver on the face. Now I'm touching up some of the rose gold areas. Looks like I have some yellow gold down on there as well. Tried to do just one color at a time, but on the last pass there were just a little spot here and there of white showing through that I wanted to cover, and they were all three colors. So my last pass, I was putting a little bit of yellow gold on one spot, and a little bit of rose gold on another, and a little bit of silver on another, just to get the coverage. But it worked out okay. Just have to be careful. Actually, I think there is a line, one of those stripes, that wound up with at least two of those colors, maybe even three, but I thought it's kind of neat to see it that way anyway. So here I have the pointed pen in one hand and the brush to scoot the excess away, just to get it cleaned up a little bit. Makes for some nice sharp edges to do this. So all of the gold metal leaf has been applied, and now I'm using my very tiny #2 round brush to apply the sealer, which is like a varnish. It's actually based with shellac, and this will prevent the mica in the gold metal leaf from tarnishing over time. If you use gold 23 or 24 karat gold sheets, which you can purchase, it's fairly easy to find, but significantly more expensive. Instead of, say, 40 cents a sheet, they're more like $4 a sheet or $5, depending on the price of gold at any given time. Also, the sheets are smaller, so it's significantly higher cost. But there is an advantage if you are making a work of art that you don't want to have to worry about varnishing or tarnishing over time. You might want to consider putting real gold on instead of this gold metal leaf. So for this kind of a project where I actually have had this zebra design in my mind for some time, I wanted to just try it this way first. And in hindsight, I'm happy that I used the gold metal leaf, and I'm going to consider maybe doing another one with 23 or 24 karat gold. Now, one other thing to say is, you see that in that little strip of yellow gold that I'm covering over with the sealant, right now it's the silver, but right before that was a gold area that is beside a wider, or in a wider area of white. That's where I decided to leave some portions of the white stripes as naturally white. And so I'm very pleased with the outcome. Sometimes I do things like this and want kind of a random look or a natural look, something that you might see in nature where it's everything is so different and asymmetrical. And I think there's such beauty in that asymmetry as you even look at a zebra and see just how there are no straight lines on these stripes. They are stripes, but everything has interest and waviness, and some are short and some are long and some are narrower. They're narrower at one point and wider at another. And so the same idea is what I was thinking about with the application of the three colors, and then just where to position each of these colors. So the sealant goes over the top. It's a milky color and it looks very dull. It's almost scary when you first start doing this process because it looks like all of the shininess is going away. But you see now, here is the finished product. It's very difficult to take a photograph and get the shine in just the right way. This sort of shows it, but if you see it in person, it's really brilliant. It's just such a beautiful look. So thanks so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you give it a try. I'd love to hear from you if you do.